A flight attendant looked a black man straight in the eye and said, "Sir, first class isn't for people like you." The cabin fell silent. Moments later, the pilot was summoned. The man was escorted out of his seat for a white passenger who arrived late. Everyone thought it was over until he pulled out his phone, made one call, and within 24 hours, the airline's $120 million contract was frozen. Their stocks plummeted, and their CEO was called to Washington. Asterisk, don't forget to subscribe for more true life stories of power, justice, and G.I. Joe dropping twists you'll never forget. Asterisk, it was supposed to be just another red-eye flight from New York to London. One of those posh business class trips where luxury came at a price, but to Gregory Langston, it was routine. A 39-year-old self-made billionaire. Gregory was the youngest black CEO in the aerospace technology sector, known across Silicon Valley and Capitol Hill for engineering a data security software that now protected U.S. military drones, satellites, and nearly every major commercial flight system. But Gregory was also humble, rarely flaunting his net worth or demanding special treatment. On this particular evening, he wore simple navy chinos, a gray Henley shirt, and carried only a slim laptop case as he boarded his usual first-class seat on Flight 478, operated by NorthJet Airways. No flashy Rolex, no media entourage, just a black man taking his seat in a space few expected him to occupy. He had barely fastened his seatbelt when a young white woman nervously chewing gum and clearly light stormed down the aisle, accompanied by a frantic flight attendant. "Ma'am, your seat was upgraded to 1A due to your elite platinum status," the attendant said hurriedly, pointing toward Gregory's seat. Confused, Gregory raised an eyebrow and opened his boarding pass. "Excuse me," he said calmly, "but 1A is mine." The attendant hastily froze for a second, then scanned his boarding pass quickly, lips pursed. "Sir, we're going to need you to move to business class," she said, voice firm but tight. Gregory looked her in the eyes. "Why?" A beat passed. Then she muttered, "It's for operational balance. Please cooperate." When Gregory didn't budge, another attendant arrived, followed by the cabin manager, and then, shockingly, the pilot himself. Whispers erupted. Business class passengers leaned over. A few were recording. Still, Ashley doubled down. "Sir, this is a courtesy to our valued guests. Please don't make this difficult." The moment crystallized into raw tension when she added under her breath, "but loud enough. First class isn't for people like you." That's when Gregory slowly rose from his seat, unclipped his belt, picked up his case, and walked wordlessly toward business class. But his eyes weren't defeated. They were calculating, observing, witnessing. By the time the flight landed at Heathrow, Gregory had already made one call that would send shockwaves through the airline industry. Because what NorthJet didn't know, what Ashley certainly didn't know, was that Gregory wasn't just a passenger. His company, Langston Systems, held the cyber contract that powered NorthJet's entire avionics network. And the renewal for that $120 million contract was due that week. Asterisk, by the time Gregory reached his London office, the incident had gone viral. A businessman in economy recorded the exchange and posted it on X, formerly Twitter, titling it "Black Exec Booted from First Class for Late White Woman's MH." Within 6 hours, it had 4.8 million views. Major influencers, celebrities, and civil rights attorneys were already dissecting it. But Gregory remained calm. He didn't call a press conference or make emotional statements. Instead, he summoned his board, legal team, and PR division. "We are freezing all negotiations with NorthJet," he said, eyes fixed on the screen showing the video, "and we're calling a security audit on their airborne comms. I want every vulnerability exposed, because if they're careless enough to disrespect a partner CEO on record, they're careless enough to risk civilian safety." His lawyer sent an official breach of conduct letter to NorthJet's HQ, informing them that Langston Systems was reconsidering its long-term partnership. That same night, Langston's executive assistant forwarded the video directly to U.S. senators on the Tech Oversight Committee. "This is more than racial bias," Gregory's message read. "This is corporate malpractice under the guise of privilege." Within 48 hours, NorthJet's board was in crisis. Their stock dropped 8%. International watchdogs started asking questions. The airline CEO, Graham Markley, reached out personally with a groveling email. Mr. Langston, I offer my deepest apologies and would like to meet in person to resolve this misunderstanding. Gregory responded curtly, we'll meet. Bring your entire board. We'll host it at Langston Systems HQ. The meeting was set for Monday. That morning, as 7 white executives from NorthJet entered Langston Tower, futuristic, black-owned fortress in Silicon Valley, they were met with rows of framed portraits of trailblazing black engineers, aviators, and inventors. On the top floor, Gregory sat at the head of the boardroom in a tailored black suit, flanked by his chief technology officer, a Nigerian-American woman named Kioma, and his chief legal officer, a black British barrister with a fierce global reputation. As the NorthJet team stammered through their apology, Gregory finally raised his hand and said, "This isn't about a seat. It's about systemic disrespect." Then he played the flight recording on the big screen. When Ashley's voice echoed, "First class isn't for people like you," Markley dropped his pen. Gregory continued, "You're not just losing a contract, you're losing access to our security protocols. We've already begun onboarding your rival Scanova Airways. They signed our diversity pledge and just hired 45 engineers from underrepresented backgrounds. They're replacing you." Markley's mouth dropped. One of his board members went pale. "You're ending our deal." "No," Gregory said coldly. "I'm letting your own bias end it for you." Then he stood and walked out, leaving the stunned executives sitting in a room filled with portraits of black brilliance they'd ignored for too long. The media exploded. CNN ran the headline, "Billion-dollar CEO teaches airline a $120 million lesson in respect." MSNBC hosted a special segment with Gregory, titled "From Disrespected to Disruptor." But it wasn't just the headlines. It was the ripple effect. Following the incident, Langston Systems launched Project Ascend, a program aimed at investing in young black aviation engineers and building the first black-owned private airline network by 2030. Gregory partnered with historical black colleges, funded scholarships, and opened aviation campuses in Detroit, Birmingham, and Atlanta. Meanwhile, NorthJet tried to contain the damage by firing Ashley, issuing public apologies and creating a hasty diversity board, but it was too late. Corporate clients began pulling out. European aviation regulators questioned their ethics. And then, the final nail, Skynova, Langston's new partner, released a campaign that showed a young black girl sitting in a cockpit simulator with the caption, "She belongs in first class and beyond." It went viral. Months later, Gregory was invited to testify before Congress, not just about cybersecurity, but about corporate discrimination. His testimony led to new aviation regulations requiring implicit bias training for all staff at federally funded airlines. When asked why he never sued NorthJet, Gregory replied, "I'm not in the business of revenge. I'm in the business of legacy." As for Ashley, she vanished from the public eye, but Gregory later revealed in an interview that she sent a handwritten letter apologizing and confessing that she had grown up in a household that believed black people didn't belong in certain places. "I forgave her," Gregory said, "but I didn't forget, because forgetting gives silence to injustice." And as the years passed, Gregory Langston's name became synonymous not just with innovation, but with quiet power, the kind of power that doesn't shout but rewrites the rules entirely. Because sometimes the best way to respond to being kicked out of first class